Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Life with Lily. And today I'm actually super stoked because it's a time sensitive type episode where we're going to be talking about an event that's coming up that I'm really excited for, that I get to participate in. And our guest today is Laurie Froberg, and she is on the board of TCPP, which is holding the event that we will be doing in a few weeks. So let's bop her up and start talking about spirituality and in the community and how to build a wonderful community with spirituality. Hey, girlfriend, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing lovely. Introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about you. Let's get to know each other.
Okay. Okay. Well, my name's Laurie Froberg. I am the marketing chair, I guess I should say, of Twin City Pagan Pride and on the board of directors for Twin City Pagan Pride. I'm not going to assume everybody knows about Twin City Pagan Pride and what it is that we do. So let me just give a little brief introduction about who we are and what it is that we do. We are a 501(c)(3) educational organization, and basically our goal is to hold two events. The first event that we have is one that's coming up actually this fall, that in a couple weeks. Actually, it'll be fall in. I guess we can assume it's officially fall in about a few weeks, but it is our fall event, and it's going to be held on September 11th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Minnehaha Falls Regional Park. And we host this event as a way to dispel myths about paganism and paganism is, and how we practice our spiritual beliefs to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's held at Minneapolis, or the Minneapolis Minnehaha Regional Park, which is part of the Minneapolis Park system. And we do it in an outdoor setting for that very reason. And it's a very good place for people to come if they're just kind of curious about paganism for the first time and they're not really sure what it's all about. But for people who are in the pagan community, it's also a really great event to connect with other pagans. We've got an event filled with a ton of vendors, community groups, who are there representing their spiritual beliefs, and what they do as a community group. You'll find covens, grows, healing groups there, all kinds of groups there at the event. We also do music throughout the day. We have people that conduct rituals for various things. Let's see, what else do we typically do there?
It's programming.
And programming, yes. Well, and the programming is geared for 101 programming. So it's basic programming. So we're going to assume that a lot of the people that are coming there are kind of new to paganism and the various beliefs under the pagan umbrella. So that's kind of what happens throughout the day. The other event that we host every year is our big event, which is Paganicon. And if you've never gone, you should go. It's fabulous every single year. And it's normally held at a hotel. We were doing it at the Doubletree Inn until recently, and we moved to the Crown Plaza in Plymouth. But the idea is to hold an event specifically for pagans, and that's where you can get more of your in-depth, really hardcore topics going on. You have your more hardcore pagan rituals, and of course there's music. There's vendors as usual, just like the Twin City Pagan Pride event in the fall. Let me see. Oh, there's so much. You have to come and you'll be like, oh, we do a big masquerade ball every Saturday night. So everybody dress up in their costumes and thank you for the plug there on the that. So that website actually is one that's being kind of worked on. So not all the information, it's pretty much up for the fall festival, but it's still a work in progress for PaganaCon coming up in March. So it will be updated eventually.
Definitely. Technology is always a work in progress. Absolutely. So if you want to check it out, of course, bop to the website,
Yes.
see what's going on with it. Please be patient with the updates and everything that goes on with that. But let's jump into, so what does spiritual community mean to you?
Well, to me personally, it's the source that I can support and get support from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Twin City Pagan Pride very much fits into that mold. We see ourselves as a foundation for supporting spiritual organizations throughout the Twin City area, regardless of what spiritual umbrella or what spiritual definition or how they define themselves as a spiritual organization. So we see ourselves as kind of a support for that. But me personally, I also run a Druid Grove here in the Twin Cities, Northern Roots Grove. So I'm going to give a little push for that too. So spirituality for me personally is showing support for others who are seeking um, information about their spirituality, trying to get closer to their gods or their spirituality, whatever it is that they need to fulfill the mission that they want, spiritualized, can't think of the word that I'm coming with. But anyways, what they're trying to do to complete their spiritual goals. That's part of the support that I feel that I give. Plus, I learn a lot. Being a part of Twin City Pagan Pride and being the co-founder and the organizer for Northern Roots Grove, I've learned more than I think that if I ever was a solitary person. I actually didn't come into my spirituality as a druid. Actually, when I first came into being what is now called what I considered myself as a pagan, I started out as a witch. I joined a teaching coven for a year and a day, and was a solitary practitioner for some time after that. And when I was going to PaganaCon, I met these people who called themselves druids, and I'm like, who the heck are these people? And why are they different from witchcraft? And the more I learned about them and their beliefs and how they were a little bit different, not quite terribly different, but um, I felt it was more of a home for me. So, and then one day Cindy came to me and she said, let's start our own Druid Grove group, because there really wasn't really anything here in the Twin City that was prominent. So, but so I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, definitely. And I think you touched on a few good points that, like, why is spiritual community important? And it's like, because it does allow that support.
Right.
And also, like, that camaraderie. And as you had mentioned, there's nothing wrong with being a solo or solitary practitioner.
Exactly.
And I think it's important that we point out that you can be a solo and solitary practitioner, whatever your belief system is, whether it's paganism or not, and have a spiritual community. They're not exclusive. They hold hands. They're friends. And I feel like a lot of people are like, no, I want to do my stuff solo. And it's like, rock that out. Of course, if you pray solo, if you meditate, if you do your ritual,
yes,
whatever, you can do that solo and still come to these events or go to classes and have a community that supports you. You know, it's not the lone wolf style.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And I always tell people when they come to, when I talk to them about my spirituality, I said, spirituality is a journey. It's not a destination. And you will find you will walk many paths. Some of those paths will be solitary. Some will be with other groups and people that you have a connection with, and some won't, so there's many ways. And in fact, when people come to us, at the Twin City Pagan Pride events, we have a information booth that people come up and they constantly ask questions about, I'm experiencing this. What does this mean? There's people that always have questions, and mainly it's just people who want to meet other people who think and feel like them. They don't want to feel like they're the outsider because they may be the only non-Christian in their family. And they're kind of feeling like, okay, am I being weird here? And then they come to a gathering like Twin City Pagan Pride Fall Festival or Paganicon, and they realize, my gosh, there's a huge community out here. In fact, we are very, very fortunate as far as spiritual communities are concerned here in Minneapolis, infamously known as Paganistan.
Charming name.
But there is. I had read someplace, and I'm not sure if this is still true, that Minneapolis had the largest number of pagans following New York City and San Francisco Bay Area. So, and you can think a lot of that to the people at Llewellyn, because when Llewellyn came to the area, Llewellyn Publishing is one of the largest publishing companies that do publish a lot of neo-pagan occult type of works and stuff like that, new age type of works and stuff like that. But when they came to the area, they really did. I mean, there were people who actually moved to the Minneapolis area because there were so many other pagans in the area. So I think I remember.
It's a great place. We like it here. And it's another good point. Like, I love Llewellyn, and I'm so glad that like they're close and we get to, spend time with them. And they are the leading publishing house for like spirituality and occult and expanding. And with spiritual community, knowledge is not only power, it's diversity. And so when you think of spiritual community, I always like to tell people, I'm looking for like-minded people who will expand my thinking, so that you're not, like you said, the black sheep, or you feel weird about your beliefs. Again, no matter what they are, all are welcome. I remember one time at Paganicon in the vendor room, we had a Christian minister, and he was asking questions and he wanted to know, and he was friendly and he was welcome, and everyone welcomed him, and there were great discussions. And it was this realization through spiritual community that we have so much more in common with everyone than differences, than obsessing about those one or two things. That's just like, oh, you don't believe this. It's like, yeah, but we agree with everything else. And it was this beautiful opportunity to really learn and respect each other. And that happened because TCPP provided a space that was safe and respectful to broaden our views. No one looked at him and said, no, you ain't welcome. I remember story time, my first year. It was many moons ago, back when I was a wee little lass.
I love you, Lily.
Thank you so much. I went to Paganicon for the first time, and I was terrified because I had only learned about paganism through a very Catholic upbringing, and I am.
Oh my!
I know, right? You can never
a whole discussion on that in itself.
And I was so nervous. I was nervous because I was like socially anxious, but then it was also, are these people going to like me? Am I going to be kicked out because I'm spiritual and not fit some kind of paradigm? And I remember literally every single person that I talked to told me that I was welcome.
Yeah.
Every single person said, you're fit under the umbrella. Everyone fits here.
Yes.
So when people say paganism, everyone's like, oh my God, no. And it's like, view it as a broad meaning of everyone and everything and every belief system that is not Christianity, Buddhism, Muslim, the mainstream ones. and just welcome everyone. And even if someone was Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, they'd be welcome too.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we would all just know, as much as we use the word pagan, what we're saying is all are welcome. All origins come from this, and we want everyone to share. And that's spiritual community. Now, as much as we say all are welcome, if you a dick, we throw down.
Yeah.
You come in and be like, I'm right, you're wrong. You're going to have some giant, heathen, Norse worshiping fucker come at you and tell you you cannot be disrespectful to everyone else's beliefs. Maybe you need to sit in a corner. We will advocate. Like, it's all light and love, but take no shit.
Exactly. And that's right. You are so right. 100% on that. Absolutely right. Oh my God.
It's good. See, we laugh and it's very open, and spiritual community should be open. It should be a place. I view it as much as, like I said, like-minded, but expanding.
Right.
I've been in spiritual communities where you couldn't question anything. But growing up, and it just bothered me. And I was like, but I have a question that doesn't make sense or that contradicts or anything. Yes. No one's trying to like push you or make you justify your beliefs, but people get to question everything. And I love that in spiritual community, that healthy, happy, supportive spiritual communities are all about, is that really what Loki did? Okay, that's what you believe. Okay, and that's fine. I find it fascinating. But yeah, and that certain druids are connected to trees, and it's like, really? Oh, kind of like, and there are so many overlaps with other cultures, like Native Americans versus paganism and stuff. And it really is harmonious, and spiritual community should be harmonious, in my humble, correct opinion.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that we're always pushing for with Twin City Pagan Pride. When Becky Munson, who is our program director for Twin City Pagan Pride, does a fabulous job of creating programming for Paganicon, and we're always looking for those to be more inclusive. And kind of pushing the boundaries is to kind of stretch the thinking and the imagination and a kind of opening topics. So we're very, when she goes through and selects programming, she does it purposely to, number one, keep it fresh. To number two, kind of what haven't we talked about before? What's new? What's different? How can are we being inclusive enough? Are we providing opportunities for people to explore different paths of spirituality? And not just spirituality, but are we being inclusive in the entire community with regard to sexuality, race, even your social status, and that kind of thing. So we're always mindful of that, and that's first and foremost with us and in our thoughts when it comes to developing the programming for our events.
And a huge shout out to Becky, because I've been on the programming committee and stuff where we've gone through it. And I respect her so much for that process, because things that I would have disregarded out of hand because they didn't interest me, she said, yes, why wouldn't this be here? And I'm like, because I find it boring. And she's just like, it ain't about you. And I was like, oh, that's right. There's an entire community. That's not about me. But she always had that in mind. And it was never having two things that were exactly alike. And I feel mad props to Becky for that. And with the programming, I noticed after being with you guys for several years that there wasn't any queer programming. And instead of sitting there, and any spiritual community should promote action and should promote you to feel like you should do something. So what I did was I wrote a program and a panel, and Marcus Ironwood, who actually now works for Llewellyn, And I did a queer panel with people and talking and about spiritual community and how it works and everything. And it was this thing when I brought it to the board, I said, this needs to change. There has to be queer programming in here. There's a gap. And you guys automatically said, yes, do it. We did.
Yeah. Exactly.
Send in a proposal. Nothing is dismissed out of hand.
Yes.
And that is spiritual community. So I know as much as we're talking about TCPP and everything, because Laurie and I are both members, we mean this for all spiritual community. Yes. All of these concepts, there should be support. There should be diversity. Yes. There should be questioning. There should be a willingness to participate and show action, especially if there's a gap. And it's always being able to also say you're uncomfortable. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people, especially in spiritual, it's like, it's all light and love.
Yeah,
but if
no.
you touch me again, I'm going to cut off your hand.
Nope. In fact, we have a very detailed safety policy. Twin City Pagan Pride has a very detailed safety policy for our events, for both the Fall Festival and Paganicon, where we basically do, number one, do not make people feel uncomfortable, and definitely crossing out all the areas that I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, would make people feel like they're not safe.
Yep. And that means physically, but also spiritually.
Exactly.
And so if you're there and someone's like, Greek gods suck ass, it'd be like, okay, well, you can leave now.
Yeah.
I don't need to agree with you or disagree. That is not the kind of energy that you want. But also if someone is constantly petting you or hugging you, it's like, that's not okay either. Consent with all things and safety. And with spiritual community, if we're being honest, this is not communism. There is a hierarchy to almost every spiritual community that I've been in. There have been directors and heads and founders and volunteers and staff, and it keeps going down. And with spiritual community to be really healthy, you have to have people at the top that you can go and talk to. I know that when I've had problems, I've gone to several different board members.
Yes.
Walked up to Jason crying once. That was humbling, but I was having some feels, and Jason was there. He's another board member. And I was like, life isn't fair. And he's like, okay, we will work on this. And he was great. And he stopped what he was doing to make sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
And this was several years ago, but that's what you need in people who run a community and are the leaders of it, that you can go to them if you're upset and talk about it, that it's not like, oh, we'll figure it out yourself. You're an adult. It's like, at some point you got to be able to talk to somebody.
Well, it's part of ethics too. And this, I'm going to give props for Becky on another thing, is she's developed a very good ethics program for specifically that was based from the Faith Trust Institute, I believe it was.
Yes.
And it does talk about ethics and what are considered safe boundaries within, if you're considering becoming a priest or a leader in a spiritual community.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's not just so much of coming and learning how to do rituals and how to do spell work or whatever, but it's also making you a better leader and a better person within the spiritual community. So it's that's all of that is coming full circle. Because it's all part of the process.
Yes, definitely. And then I want to touch on how long until someone feels comfortable in a community in general. I know everyone is different and stuff, but like, what's the rule of thumb? You go once and it's like, yes, these are my people. Or is it more like, okay, gradually feel more comfortable with somebody?
And it is really kind of an individual thing. We see people that come once and then maybe we never see them again, but then maybe we see them someplace else or whatever. So they're just kind of filling out various groups or whatever. And then they might come back once and come back a couple years later, or maybe, and then they come back regularly or whatever. We're not, well, first of all, we don't proselytize. So we basically tell people to come back whenever they feel comfortable to come back. We want people to feel comfortable and feel accepted every single time they come. So they do feel like they are part of the community. But it really does kind of depend upon the person. And I'm going to give a little hint here because when I was with the teaching coven, I felt part of the community because I was part of a teaching coven. The teaching coven I belonged to was part of the Wiccan Church of Minnesota, which is now, I guess, defunct. I'm not sure that they're around anymore. But anyways, the Wiccan Church of Minnesota kind of had a little circle of covens within the Twin City Pagan area. And so I felt part of that community. When I left as a solitary, I really didn't keep in touch with that community. But when I started joining Twin City Pagan Pride and doing volunteer work, that's when I felt connected again. And I'm going to suggest, I'm a big proponent of volunteerism.
Yes.
And I will tell you from personal experience, and it does, and I consider this part of my spirituality too, as part is giving back and supporting the community, is to volunteer for the various groups that you feel passionate about, and you love their mission. Like I love our mission and what it is we do for the community.
And it's a good way to dip a toe in, if we're being honest, because that's what my first year at PaganCon. So I did PaganCon first, and then I did Pride Day later. And I volunteered with the art gallery. And my thing is that this is my first time. I'm terrified. At least then I'll have something to do, and people will have to talk to me, and I will get comfortable. And for me, that was a huge thing, is having that opportunity to volunteer and get used to the community and used to people and talking to them to figure out if I fit. So I don't know if you've noticed, but ever since that first year that I did it, I have not left.
Yes, thank you. And we're so glad you have not left.
Just got hunkered down. I'm like, I'm just going to stay here.
It would not be PaganCon if Lily wasn't there. I can tell you that right now.
That's right. Shining light of fabulousness. And then a few years into it, like volunteering and helping, the board actually came to me, and I am so neurotic that I thought I was in trouble when Becky and Jason had me over for dinner to ask me if I wanted to participate more. I was like, oh my gosh, I did something so horrible that they have to have me in the home to yell at me. Oh my gosh. And they're like, do you want to be on the board and do kids programming? I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this community likes me so much that they want me to be in charge of something, and in charge of something that I consider very important. And to that day, I still do the kids programming. Yes. So shameless plug for kids programming. The kids tent will be at Minnehaha Falls on September 11th. There will be a themed scavenger hunt. There will be prizes. There will be a new, what's that thing called? Cornhole, where you throw the bean bags in a hole.
Oh,
yes. One of those.
Beanbag
it's amazing. What?
A beanbag toss game?
Yeah, where you toss a beanbag into a hole on the lawn.
Yes.
Lawn game. And so I love working with kids. I love this opportunity. I volunteer year round with TCPP. This is what I do. I do the kids stuff. And I love that it's creative and amazing. And so by all means, bring your kids. The kid tent is kid friendly. I am there. I am the adult child that will color with you and hang out with you all the time, because in spiritual communities, there are some, and we're not ragging, everyone is different. There are some spiritual communities that are adults only and have adult content. And by all means, do that. There needs to be places where certain things are discussed and certain cuss words are said and everything like that. And then there are certain communities that encourage children to come and encourage children to participate. And if you have children, those can be some good opportunities, not only for you, but for your child. With that, please watch your child. We're not daycare workers.
Thank you.
If you abandon your child with me, I will call the police. Because that happened not at a TCPP event, because we keep that shit on lock, but at a different event, a complete stranger, I was not kids programming, left their children. And an hour later, I'm like, I think we have to call the police. And then she showed up with a cup of coffee. And I was like, not a good spiritual community if you're abandoning children. No. So,
well, in Twin City Pagan Pride, the fall festival is kid friendly. The entire thing is. Your kids might find the basic 101 programming a little on the dull side, but it's nothing that's going to be outlandish or nothing that you're going to have to go like this to their ears or anything like that. Even the rituals, I don't know what about all of the rituals, but I know some of the rituals that are going on. None of those will be, all of those will be family friendly. There's one ritual that might be a little heavy. We're doing a drum jam memorial to honor, because it's on September 11th is also the 20th anniversary of the falling of the Twin Towers. So we're going to be doing a memorial for the victims of that, as well as a memorial for everybody who's suffered from the effects of COVID-19. So that one ritual might be a little on the heavy side, but that's probably about as heavy and deep and dark as it gets at Twin City Pagan Pride. So very, very family friendly. I know there'll be a lot of the community booths and a lot of the vendors always have fun stuff for kids too, besides this. So I've seen in the past where people have done fun activities for kids. We and our Druid Grove, I don't know if we'll do it this year yet, but our Grove, for instance, would do like a fun scavenger nature hunt for kids, where kids can go find things and come back and get a prize or whatever. So there's all kinds of fun stuff for kids to do. Plus, Minnehaha Falls itself is just a beautiful place for kids to go to. Hopefully we'll have enough rain, because I've heard the falls is a little dry this year.
A little parched.
A little parched.
And so with spiritual community, find one that you fit into. Find ones that share your values. If adult only content is your value, find a group that does that. If it's important for your kids to be involved in everything, find a group that promotes that. If you need ones that really support you being a solo practitioner, find groups that are okay with that. It's not one size fits all, and it's not one group is for everybody. You want to find a place where you fit and feel comfortable with what you want to focus on. And so that can be very diverse or very specific, because some people are only Druids or only Christians and they only want to do certain things. Then be in those communities. If you're sitting there and going, oh, I only want to do Druid stuff, and you go to a coven or something that's doing all this other like Greek and Norse, you're going to be very disappointed with that community. So seek out the communities that you want to be in. And with that, so there is Pride Day that, again, is happening on September 11th from 10 to 5?
6 p.m. So 6 p.m. Yep, the final drum jam. The final drum jam starts.
Yeah,
that thing. I think that starts around 4 or 5 p.m. I haven't seen the schedule. Schedules will be coming out soon. If you go to the website and go hit the link to the fall festival, both. Becky will be posting the schedule for rituals and music and programming. Wendy will be posting all the vendors that will be there. So can I say something about that fall festival and our concerns for COVID-19 while we're talking about it.
Yes, it is obviously important with spiritual communities in gatherings. COVID-19 is real. Flu season is real. Colds are real. Like,
yes.
Talking about the physical safety of your members should be something that is commonplace. And if it's not, then okay.
Yeah.
So yes, please mention.
So just basically, obviously, this is a public park, so people will be coming to the event or coming to the park itself, not for the event itself, but they may see us there. So we are encouraging people to wear masks and do some social distancing. If you've ever been to the Pagan Pride Fall Festival in the past, the booths are kind of like right next to each other. We are purposely spacing them out to try and avoid crowding. So we're spacing them out further. We're also going to put signs all over the place telling people to social distance. I mean, if you see a bunch of people at a tent, go to a different tent or go someplace else. There's plenty to do throughout the entire ground. So there's really not the need to do any kind of crowding. Basically, we're telling people, kind of gauge how your general health is. I know a lot of people are opting out of events like the Irish Fair this year. A lot of my friends did not go because of COVID-19 concerns. Some people aren't going to the state fair because of COVID-19 concerns, and that's fine. And when we basically tell people, if you don't feel comfortable coming to our event because of COVID-19 concerns, we understand that, but we are going to try and do what we can to make this event as safe as possible by, number one, encouraging people to wear masks, social distance, space out as much as possible. And and you can attest to this too, Lily, is that in the past, I don't think it's ever become an event where it's crowded like the state fair or anything like that. I mean, you don't see people, it's pretty much spaced out as it is even during non-COVID years. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And it's not that it's not popular, it's that it's from 11 to 10 to 6. And so we have a steady stream of people coming the whole time. And so it's not that it's, we have no one coming. We do. And we love it. It's the fact that we always have circulating energy. And so people are always moving. And so, and with that, I'd like to point out, if you do not feel safe coming to one of the events, don't. And know that you are welcome later. If you don't feel safe now, that's fine. You can come next year. You can come in March to Paganicon. You can go to other events that are smaller or more distant. Don't sit here and think that this is your only opportunity for spiritual community.
Oh, no.
We're here. We're staying.
Yes. And like Lily said here, we've got Paganicon coming up in March, and keep your fingers crossed. Things will be so much better by March. So we actually did not hold an in-person event for Paganicon last March because of COVID-19. There was still the restrictions on the limit of people that could be hosted indoors. So we did an online event instead. And it went really well. So we had a lot of online programming, a lot of online workshops and social space, and we were able to do all that. And while online is very nice, I do have to say I really do miss the in-person event.
This on screen is lovely. This in person, fabulous. So you got to come and see this. And I know that sounds so ridiculous, but the thing is that on screen is great. And I'm so happy that we had this technology to do it when we needed it. And I love that we can do it in person again with social distancing, with safety, that we get to see each other and share sacred space and energy with each other.
And that's exactly what's going to happen at Twin City Pagan Pride. So if you feel safe enough to come, I can promise you, we will do what we can to make it as safe as possible for you and your family. But please help us and do
Mm-hmm.
your part.
Yeah,
And help us keep it safe too. So
definitely.
if you feel sick, if you're coming down with something or if you've been exposed, we'd love to see you, but we're going to ask you to stay home.
Yes, exactly. Um, so I'd like to switch topics a little bit and
Okay.
talk about different kinds of spiritual community. So we've talked a lot about TCPP, Pride Day, Paganicon, which are bigger. And there are several events that are bigger. So that is one of my personal favorites. Not that, you should play favorites, but it is. I do not volunteer with many. It's saved for them. My goodwill is saved for TCPP.
Oh, we love you.
Yes, it is wonderful. But then there are things like the Women in Spirituality Conference that is now in Rochester, Minnesota, that has a lot of spirituality, and that's great. It's a 2-day weekend thing. I haven't been there in a few years, just because of scheduling conflicts. But so there are other events, there's spiritual expos where it's like a day where you go and it's like a vendor room and 1 or 2 classes. So you can do those. And what I mean by this is like, these are places where you meet like-minded people to build your own community. So those are events that you can go to where there are lots of people. And then the other thing you can do is visit my website, and you can go to classes and meditations and psychic circles where it's a much smaller group. I try to keep mine around 10 people, and that's because I want you all to be comfortable with each other and interact with each other and to build community and trust. And so there are things like this, and you can do this if you don't want to do it through me. I wish you would. But if you don't want to do it through me, then you can do it through community education and just dip your toe in.
Yes.
And see if you like it.
And I'm going to plug Lily here because she is fabulous, and you will not go wrong visiting her website or hanging with her for anything because she's fabulous, which is why we love her at Twin City Pagan Pride. But there are also a number of, we here in the Twin Cities are fortunate to have a number of metaphysical shops that do also offer classes and stuff like that. And there's just to name the ones I know of off the top of my head. And there's always new ones springing up too. So I might be missing some. There's Magus Herbs and Books, which is in downtown Minneapolis, right off of Central Avenue.
Which is in Northeast Minneapolis.
Right, in Northeast Minneapolis. There's also the Enchanted Boutique, which is in White Bear Lake. And then they have Eye of Horus, which is in Minneapolis, right off of Lake Street. I think they're still on Lake Street, if I remember right.
Yes. And I love their new store policy. I just want to pick them a happy shout out.
Oh, sure.
I love all the metaphysical stores that we've talked about so far. They're all beautiful. I've worked with all of them closely. Eye of Horse has changed to become very personal shopper. So you don't walk around the store. They assist you one-on-one. And I thought this was going to be so annoying. I was just pissed. And then I walked in, and this young man named Steve, and I was like, I want a tarot deck. And this was a few months ago. It was my birthday. And I was like, I want a tarot deck. And I said, I wanted to do with astrology. And he literally brought me them to play with. I didn't have to go searching. He gave me his opinion, personal insight, bought 2 decks. I was like, I did not think I would like that style. I am here to tell you that style is legit fabulous. I loved it. And so I really appreciate like what they did to change things up.
Oh, wow. I did not know that about them.
I know, right? It's so cool. I know that Present Moment is on Grand.
Yes.
Present Moment and Magus are the ones that have lots of herbs and stuff. If you want to do like herb classes or learn more about herbalism. There's White Buffalo, which I do not know much about.
They're in Anoka, actually.
Yes, they are.
And they're right off of Main Street. I've been in their shop a couple of times. They also have a lot of herbs. They also do a lot of classes as well. So many of these stores that we're talking about do have websites. And if you go onto their websites, and of course, I'm going to plug Lily again, go to her first.
Yes, of course.
But yes, all these medical physical stores that we're talking about, yeah, all these stores that we are talking about do have their own websites. They have really great information on their websites. If you don't feel comfortable going into their store because of COVID-19, there's lots of online shopping opportunities as well, and lots of good information you can get on their websites. And that's the other part that here at Twin City Pagan Pride is that we do support the community and the stores that support the community. So we we work very closely with a lot of the stores like Magus and Iowa's and Enchanted Boutique and and they're you will find them as regular fixtures as vendors at our events.
Yes, and regular fixtures in the community, not
Yes.
just at events.
Yes.
And it's I want to be clear, as much as we are a community, I would not plug on here unless I actually believed in and supported something. So the guests that I have, I do respect and work with. The stores that we talk about, the other practitioners we talk about, they have our respect and our trust, and we would refer people to them. We're not just listing off any place. We know these people, we love these people, and that's
we have worked with these
really,
people for years, and we know their reputation and how well they've treated the people in the community all these years, and the things that they have done to support the community. And that's why I would advise you to seek these places out. So
definitely. And that's actually why I chose Laurie and TCPP to do the episode on spiritual community, because they are dedicated to building a healthy, sustainable spiritual community that will last years, and that it's about respect and it's about trust and it's about support and diversity. And so I love working with them because it's amazing and they love me. But it's also, they trust me to do the things that I know how to do.
Yes.
And I've had them tell me multiple times, they're like, can I do this? They're like, it's kids programming, you can do whatever you want. And I go, oh, okay, I'll do that then. And they give you,
Lily, it goes both ways. We know you well enough that we, you've worked with us, you've put in the time and you've worked with us, that we know who you are and we trust you and we value your input. And so, I mean, we couldn't take some Joe off the street and put them into kids programming right away.
It's just so people
are just so people are clear here. Well, I'm going to come to Twin City Pagan Pride and run programming from now on. Nope.
We prove ourselves, but that's the point. Like, in a community, we work together so much, and you learn about people. And you may think, oh, I'm coming in at the beginning, I might as well not. No one's gonna like me. It's like it's not about liking. It's not about like earning respect. We'll respect you because you're there, and we respect you and your beliefs. And as a human, you just may not like be on the board or run a programming or something like that. And that's not, but those are awesome things that we love, but those aren't the best parts about the spiritual community. It's the community.
And I can tell you right now, as someone who, before I became on the board of the Twin City Pagan Pride organization, I did a lot of volunteer work before I was invited on the board. I did a lot of work both at Paganicon and Twin City Pagan Pride. And that gave me an opportunity to know them, and they got to know me. And it was, and I have no qualms about doing the time before I became on the board or anything like that, because I would want them to make sure that they know who I am and what I'm capable of doing, and make sure that I'm a good, that I'm not someone who's going to take advantage of the organization or harm the organization in any way. And so I'm glad that they were careful in choosing me. And it makes me feel good about the fact that they do have a process of, and even you don't, we value everyone. Whether
Yes.
you're on the board or whether you're just helping setting up tents or
Mhm.
checking people in at an event, whatever it is you're doing, you are valuable. And
Yes.
we appreciate everyone so much because we know that whatever we do, everything is important. And if it doesn't get done, you know what? There are problems. And so
Yep.
everybody's weight is worth gold.
Exactly. And with that being said, if you guys want to volunteer at one of the
Yes.
events, please visit the website, reach
Yes.
out. We're all fairly friendly. And if you have certain skills or you
We do
like,
not bite.
exactly. Well, I do, but that's just because I'm super protective of the kids. In my regular day, no, but when the kids are involved, I'll take your arm off. And I am so picky. But if you have a certain skill set, if you love web design and
Yes.
you want to get involved, absolutely. Social media is your jam. Thank you to all the Gen Zs out there for teaching me
Yes.
how to do a few things. Absolutely. If you want to work with kids, please come work with me. I will be very thorough with vetting you, but that's just because it's children and we have to be. But if you want to volunteer, if you want to give back, if you want to see if the community is right for you, we welcome it. We want to get to know you, and we want to get to know you as a person and to honor your skills, not to say you need to do the heavy lifting. It's like, no, you want to know one of like, it was weird. One year it was organizing name tags. And that person, it was not heavy lifting. It was sitting there doing that for like 3 hours. Oh my gosh. But I mean, that person was a saint. I'm like,
Yes.
we got big burly men who will lift all the lifty things, but no one wants to sit there and tediously do the thing. And so there's a skill set, and we will honor that. We will celebrate it. Look how excited they get just about me loving kids. It's awesome. So feel free to reach out and hang out with us. See us at
Whoever organized those badges was a saint because it helped us get through the line. Yes, it was tedious, but it's like, oh my God, thank you for doing this.
Yes, when you show up, it's like, oh, it's done. Yay. So it's all about honoring you where you're at. Yes. And with that, like we said, we don't just invite anyone in to like make big decisions and stuff.
Yes, no.
I think it's important to state any group that would do that is not a group for you.
Yes, exactly.
Do not, and they're like, oh yeah, you can be high priest in a year, or we want you to head things and we don't even know you. That's a red flag that's probably not a healthy community to be in, or they have too much turnover to keep anyone in a high position. And that's not a safe place for you to build a community. And vice versa. You can be just as picky with your communities. If they do not live up to your standards, bye, and walk away. You don't owe them anything. You find the community that you fit. We have obviously, me and Laurie obviously found our community. Look how much we rave about it. But that's because it fits us. So find the community that fits you. So it's not only that the community and the heads of programming and the directors and everything get to be picky about who they let in and have responsibility. You get to be picky about how much of yourself you give and where you commit your time to with different communities. If you want to go and just attend something, absolutely. If you want to go and really commit to it, so like I did with TCPP, the first year I went not thinking that it was anything, or that I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this because it like showed up on my Facebook. And I was like, yeah, that's fun. I'll sign up. Let's do this. And I did it. And I really enjoyed it. And now I obviously am with them year round. I'm one of the staff who works their butt off for the 2 events. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love being there. But it definitely didn't start that way. It started off with me being an awkward little newbie, not quite knowing anything, and then growing in to this. Like I volunteered, just like Laurie, I volunteered a lot before they invited me into the board and everything, that I thought I was in trouble.
Oh, same year. I mean, I was a newbie the first year, and I was so impressed at how things were done at Paganicon. I was like, okay, next time I'm going to volunteer. And they had me checking badges. And I have to tell you, if you ever want to do a volunteer stint at Paganicon, check badges because it's a great way to meet people. You're going to meet every single person that
Yeah.
walks through that area, and you'd be surprised how many people will just want to come up and chit chat with you just because you're sitting there checking badges.
Yes, and it's fairly simple and it's non-invasive. You don't really need a skill set for it.
No.
It's a lot of fun to do.
And there's all kinds of things to do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, there's people there. We have a hospitality room at Paganicon, and they're always looking for people to come and help set out food or, clean up after people are eating or something like that, just to wipe down tables and things like that. There's little things there's all kinds of things to do. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the things that there's set up, there's takedown.
There's tons of stuff. And like for me, Laurie, I don't know if you know this story. So we're almost at an hour, but I'll tell you a quick story. So how I got on the board and stuff was, so I volunteered for a few years and was going to the events and everything. And one year I ran around barefoot for most of the event, and I just helped. I did not sign up for volunteering at all. I did not have a scheduled shift at all, but I ran around most of the event just asking people what they needed. And that was what did it. Everyone's like, you're just willing to do that, not even sign up. You're just going to run around barefoot for the whole weekend. And one of the things was Cindy ran out of pop, and there was none of the pop that was needed in the hotel. So then I went over to Cub and brought.
You went over there barefoot?
I did put on shoes for that because I didn't know if they would. I don't remember. I honestly don't think they were my shoes, but I did put on someone's shoes for that particular task. But it's just helping. There are tons of little things that can be helped with if you just want to be helpful.
Yeah.
Wendy.
Go ahead.
Wendy once hadn't eaten. And so I went down to the restaurant and brought back up the food because they couldn't leave the checkout table, but I could run around. So it's just those fun things. And that's what makes me like, spiritual community in general. So as much as we love TCPP, and we always will, that is one of the amazing communities in the Twin Cities.
Yes.
And Pride Day is on September 11th at Minnehaha Falls.
10 to 6 p.m.
10 to 6 p.m. It'll be amazing.
It is free. And the only thing we ask people to do, because it is a free event, is to bring a donation to the Groveland Emergency Food Shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So bring I think they just accept a package or dry goods or something like that, or canned goods. You can make a monetary donation if you can too. So we do part of the event's mission is to provide food for the food shelf as well. We partner with them in doing this. So yes.
Definitely.
So that's the other thing that I should tell you about the event. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that people should know. There's some free and parking, but it's pretty limited. But there is pay parking in the various areas. On a good day, especially with nice weather, there will be high traffic. But it is an event, come rain or shine. So
we are committed to it. I have been there. So years ago when it was really hot one year, I went in full Greek goddess garb for kids programming so that everyone would just follow the goddess and find the booth that way. And it was great. And then another year I was in like sweats and a hoodie and like a hat. And I was just like, I'm cold. And I think someone else had to give me their hoodie. So I had 2 hoodies on because I was so cold. We're committed, rain or shine, no matter the weather.
Yes.
We're here for you. Let's build this community. But the spiritual community is amazing, and it is yours. Feel empowered to discover, learn, ask questions, find the right fit for you, and honor it. Honor you where you are. If you do not feel comfortable, voice that or leave.
And remember, mostly, it is a journey. And you should always be seeking. You should always be learning. You should always be asking questions, just like Lily said. It's important. It's important to. I'm going to stress 2 things. When you've discovered a spiritual path that you feel you're dedicated to, or something that you really feel you're connected to, you should learn the history. history is important. There is a history here in the community of Minneapolis. There's also a history within paganism itself, from Gerald Gardner finding Gardnerian witchcraft to the origin of the Reformed Druidism of North America, which was formed actually right here in Minnesota. You know, there's a lot of history within paganism. I'm going to stress, because I'm a huge history fanatic when it comes to know your history. And that even comes to your spirituality. Know your history. How was it formed, and why was it formed? So,
and what are the rules? Because a lot of people forget that, and a lot of people do things that are unethical or unsafe. I've had so many people tell me that they work with the Fae, and I'm like, I get really nervous, and then I'm like, do you mean Tinkerbell? I hope you mean Tinkerbell. And they're like, no, I work with fairies. And I'm like, don't come near me and never say my name. Thank you. Why? If you don't know why, then you shouldn't be working with them.
I will never work with fairies just because of that. I'm wise enough to know, nope. I will not go there.
It's a thing. And it's, take it at your own pace, and that pace is always slower than what you think it is. You're not going to be sprinting. This is community, but it's also your practice. And so if you're doing rituals or spiritual practices that are far outside your scope, that can be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually dangerous. So
think about when you're doing a ritual, what it is that you're doing. Why are you calling the corners? Why are you honoring a particular god? Why is that god important? Do you know enough about that god and how important it is to your ritual and the event or your goal for that ritual? You know, those are the questions you should be asking. So,
what energy are you bringing in? Do you understand it? And if you don't, you need to look for that in a community, in something, for someone to help you. Like I said, with people saying that they work with the Fae, I've had people say, oh, Loki is my patron deity. And I'm like, that's interesting. I hope you have a non-violent life, but I'm really not sure about that. Because they're like, oh, because he's so cool. And it's like, again, is it like the Marvel comic books, Loki, that you're talking about? Because that's not real. Just like Tinkerbell wasn't really where it's at. So be aware of what you're doing and honor it, and be in a community that does it too. If you're in a community that doesn't pay attention to ethics or rules or boundaries, it's probably not a safe community to be in. And so you have to be safe, but you also have to be around people who are safe. And so I know this is getting kind of heavy towards the end, but these are things that need to be talked about that people don't. And part of it is people who are safe, we assume that everyone knows the ethics and the morals and the roots of what you're doing so that you're doing it correctly. And then there's the people who don't know, and they don't know that they should know.
Well, and here's something I'm going to point out. If you're joining a coven or a grove or any kind of spiritual group, and they're not talking about ethics or moral, any kind of
boundaries,
healthy boundaries, or how can we keep ourselves safe, or how they're being inclusive, I would question why. You know.
And are they doing the basics first? Basics should always be done first. I know that they are boring. I know that they are not flashy.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how many people, horny people, who have come up to me and go, I want to do sex magic. And I'm like, that's nice. How about you start with candle magic?
Yes, exactly. Oh, I know.
You can, and no, I want to do sex magic. It's like, okay, well, that's nice. Start with a candle and you will eventually upgrade, but don't
start with the directions. What do the directions mean? What does east mean? What does west mean? What does north mean? What does south mean? What is, talk about that. What are the God? What is the divine essence of your group, of your spirituality mean? Is it the Lord or the Lady? Is it God? Is the goddess? Who are they? What do they represent? Before you get into anything like sex magic, you better know that. Otherwise, that sex magic is just sex. It is not magic, and it's not worth the time. And
It's not worth it. It's not magical. It's not magical.
No.
But yeah. So on that lovely note, Laurie, that's how we always end with sex. No. But occasionally it was great having Laurie here. Thank you so much. Spiritual community is so important, and I'm glad that we got to talk about it and hype up TCPP because we love it so much. And I hope everyone learned something while also being thoroughly amused, because spirituality doesn't have to be all serious all the time. We have fun, we laugh, we are this on a regular basis. And
this conversation between me and Lily right here, oh my God, this is nothing compared to what you see at Twin City Pagan Pride.
Yes, there is solid like yelling back and forth. It is great. It is fabulous. I love it. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Laurie, thank you for joining us.
You.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.